Lions fans know exactly what I mean by that. There are two major stories surrounding this team right now, and both of them say a lot about where Detroit is heading after the way last season ended. One of these stories is about the front office doubling down on this roster and making moves that could shape the future of this team for years. And the other one is the kind of move most fans barely noticed, but it could end up becoming one of the smartest decisions Brad Holmes has made all offseason. And honestly, that's what makes this so interesting. Because right now, the Lions aren't just trying to stay competitive anymore. This team is trying to get back into real Super Bowl contention, and every single move suddenly matters a lot more than it used to. You can feel the urgency. You can feel the pressure. And after missing the playoffs, it feels like this organization knows there's no room for wasted seasons anymore. So today we gotta break down both of these stories because there's a lot going on behind the scenes that Lions fans seriously need to pay attention to. And real quick, if you're a diehard Lions fan that lives and breathes this team every single day, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Lions Nation Report is still a brand new channel, and we're trying to reach our first 4,000 subscribers with real Lions fans who actually care about this team. Alright, so let's start with the first big story, because this is actually a pretty important sign of where Brad Holmes believes this roster is right now. The Detroit Lions have officially signed almost their entire 2026 draft class, handing out nearly $30 million in rookie contracts. And honestly, this is one of those moves that might not create huge national headlines, but for Lions fans, this matters a lot more than people think. Because this is about stability. This is about commitment. And more than anything, this is about urgency from the front office after missing the playoffs for the first time since 2023. Brad Holmes was extremely aggressive throughout this entire draft process. We all remember the rumors before the draft started. People thought Detroit might trade up, trade down, do something wild in the first round, but instead, Holmes stayed patient at pick number 17 and selected Clemson offensive tackle Blake Miller. And clearly, the Lions see Blake Miller as a major piece of the future offensive line after moving on from Taylor Decker. That alone tells you how serious this organization is about rebuilding the trenches immediately. But Holmes didn't stop there. He made a trade with the New York Jets, moving picks 50 and 128 in exchange for pick 44, and used that selection on Michigan edge rusher Derek Moore. That move felt personal for Detroit fans because Moore is a local product, a Wolverines player, and honestly, one of the more exciting defensive additions this team has made in a while. Then the Lions added Keith Abney II at cornerback in the 5th round, Jimmy Rolder in the 4th round, Kendrick Law in the 5th round, Skylar Gill-Howard in the 6th round, and Tyre West in the 7th round. And now almost all of them are officially locked in. According to NFL insider Aaron Wilson, Derek Moore signed a 4-year deal worth $11.426 million, and the crazy part is, every single dollar is fully guaranteed. He also received a signing bonus worth over $4 million. That alone tells you how much confidence Detroit has in him already. Jimmy Rolder signed a 4-year contract worth $5.532 million with over $1 million in signing bonus money. Keith Abney signed a 4-year deal worth $4.878 million. Kendrick Law signed a 4-year contract worth $4.83 million. Skylar Gill-Howard signed a 4-year deal worth $4.643 million. And Tyre West signed a 4-year contract worth $4.547 million. So right now, out of the entire draft class, Blake Miller is the only player who still hasn't officially signed his rookie deal yet. And honestly, this entire situation says a lot about where Brad Holmes' mindset is right now. After the Lions missed the postseason, Holmes admitted publicly that this draft felt different emotionally. He literally said the failure gave him a kick in the rear, and you can feel that intensity in the way Detroit approached this offseason. This wasn't a comfortable playoff team casually adding depth. This front office acted like a team that knows the pressure is rising. And personally, I actually like hearing that from Holmes, because Lions fans do not want complacency right now. Not after everything this team built over the last few years. Not after getting close and then falling short. You want urgency. You want accountability. And honestly, the fact that Holmes openly admitted he felt more fire during this draft tells me the front office understands exactly what's at stake in 2026. But there's another thing from this story that really caught my attention. The Lions are officially the only NFL team this year that did not hold a rookie minicamp. That's unusual. And naturally, a lot of fans started wondering why Detroit would do something like that after missing the playoffs. But Holmes explained that he and Dan Campbell reviewed literally everything inside the organization after the season ended. Every process, every routine, every scheduled decision. And according to Holmes, they didn't want to keep doing things just because that's how it's always been done. Honestly, that sounds exactly like Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. This organization has always believed in building its own culture instead of blindly following the rest of the league. Now, whether skipping rookie minicamp ends up helping or hurting remains to be seen. Fans are definitely going to debate that one. But what matters is the mindset behind it. Detroit believes they need to evolve if they want to become a legitimate contender again. Now, the second story is honestly one of the sneakiest important moves of the entire offseason. And I'm telling you right now, this is the kind of signing that could completely change the offensive line if it works out. The Lions signed offensive lineman Ben Bartch earlier in free agency, and almost nobody talked about it. Most fans were focused on Blake Miller. Some were focused on Juice Scruggs arriving in the David Montgomery trade. Others were watching the competition involving Larry Borom. But quietly, Detroit may have added a player who could become a massive piece of this offensive line rotation. Ben Bartch signed a one-year deal in late March, and because it happened later in free agency, the move kind of disappeared under the radar. But the talent is absolutely there. The biggest issue with Bartch has always been injuries. Last season with the San Francisco 49ers, Bartch opened the year as the starting left guard before suffering an ankle injury after week 2 that sent him to injured reserve. When he came back, he only played 4 more games before suffering a season-ending Lisfranc injury in week 13, and unfortunately, injuries have followed him for years. Even back in 2024, he only appeared in 3 games because of another ankle injury. So yes, there's real risk here. But if this guy stays healthy, this could become one of Brad Holmes' smartest low-cost moves. According to Pro Football Focus, Bartch finished last season with a 71.7 offensive grade, and he graded especially well as a run blocker. And let's be honest here. The Lions desperately need improvement in the run game after what happened last season. Detroit struggled running the football. They struggled converting third downs, and the offensive line simply did not dominate the way we're used to seeing from this team. That's why the Lions completely reshaped the offensive line this offseason. Taylor Decker is gone, Graham Glasgow is gone, Blake Miller arrives, Juice Scruggs arrives, Larry Borom enters the competition, and now Ben Bartch enters the mix too. What's interesting is that the interior offensive line is actually much younger now than a lot of people realize. Tate Ratledge only has limited experience. Christian Mahogany is still developing after being a 6th-round pick in 2024. Mahogany also dealt with a knee injury last season that slowed his progress badly. And while Ratledge improved as the season went on, there are still major questions about consistency up front. That's exactly why Bartch matters. Because if he stays healthy during training camp, there is a real path for him to win a starting job. And honestly, competition on the offensive line is something this team desperately needed. Nobody should automatically feel safe after the way last season ended. Not on offense, not on defense, not anywhere. And I actually think that's the biggest theme connecting both of today's stories. Urgency. Everything Detroit is doing right now feels more urgent. Brad Holmes sounds more urgent. The roster decisions feel more aggressive. The competition feels tougher. And honestly, that's probably a good thing for this football team, because the Super Bowl window is not open forever in the NFL. Eventually, contracts get expensive. Eventually, expectations become pressure. Eventually, the excuses disappear. And right now, it feels like the Lions understand that this upcoming season could define the next era of Detroit football. If these rookies develop quickly, if Blake Miller stabilizes the offensive line, if Derek Moore becomes a real pass rush weapon, and if a player like Ben Bartch stays healthy and surprises people, this team could absolutely get back into serious contention. But Lions fans also know there's risk here. A lot of youth, a lot of new pieces, a lot of pressure. And after missing the playoffs, nobody inside this fan base wants another step backward. That's why this offseason feels different emotionally. You can feel the tension, you can feel the expectations. And honestly, that's what happens when people finally start believing this franchise is capable of winning big. But I want to know what you guys think. Which story matters more to you right now? the Lions locking up almost the entire draft class, or the possibility that Ben Bartch becomes one of the biggest underrated additions of the offseason. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to Lions Nation Report if you haven't already. The channel is still brand new, and we're trying to reach our first 4,000 subscribers with real Detroit Lions fans that want to follow this team every single day.